Hello, this is Chef John from foodwishes.com with Miracle Fudge. That's right, people that know me know I'm not prone to exaggeration or hyperbole. Sorry, I had to clear my throat and grab my collar. But anyway, here I think it's perfectly appropriate to call this Miracle Fudge because of how it's made. Believe it or not, this is 100% vegan, but despite not having any of those traditional fudge ingredients in this, it is absolutely delicious, and that, whether your recipient is a vegan or not, would make a beautiful, beautiful holiday gift. So first thing, we're going to need some very high quality cocoa. I'm using something called Cocoa Rouge, and I believe this is a Dutch processed cocoa, which I have no idea what that means, but I'm a fan of the Dutch, so I'm sure that's a good thing. And when you're measuring this, just don't scoop it out with your cup. Very much like flour, cocoa can compress, so I want you to spoon it in and level it off. And why am I using a rounded spoon to level? It's a good question. But anyway, we're going to measure out some cocoa, we're going to put that in a mixing bowl, and then to that we're going to add our sweetening agent, which in this case is maple syrup. And I've heard that using maple syrup to sweeten things is nominally better than using white sugar, so that's good. So some maple syrup. We're also going to give it a couple drops of vanilla, just a couple drops, and then a pinch of salt. Oh, you know we like a little pinch of salt in our chocolate desserts. Makes everything more chocolatey. Proven scientific fact. And at that point, we're ready to introduce the secret and most important ingredient, coconut oil. And as you can see, I'm not using an extra virgin raw coconut oil. I'm using a refined coconut oil, which works better in this. And we'll talk about the health benefits on the blog and why I'm using this one and what the difference is between this and the extra virgin. But for now, forget all that. And what we need to do, because this stuff is solid at room temperature, we're going to stick this in a bowl of hot water for a few minutes. Apparently the atoms in here are going to vibrate a little quicker, and it's going to change states from solid to liquid, which will allow us to pour this to measure and add that to our bowl. And then we're going to take a spatula or a whisk, and we're going to stir that up. And as you stir, you're going to be like, man, that looks awesome. It looks like a beautiful, shiny hot fudge sauce. But don't get too excited, because as you stir for a few more seconds, that coconut oil is going to cool down, and it's going to solidify again. And you're going to have something that looks fairly grainy and ugly, but don't worry, completely normal, because we have one more very important step. We're going to very lightly toast some chopped up walnuts, and we're not going to go too far here. We're simply going to get the walnuts to the point where they're fragrant and hot. And how will you know? Well, first of all, you're going to smell, and your nose will send messages to your brain to the effect of, hey, that smells good. I think it's done. And you can also test by grabbing one and potentially burning your fingers. Kids, don't do this. So I plucked one out, and yes, it was fragrant and hot. So at that point, we're going to turn off the heat. We're going to let that cool down for about a minute. We don't want it too super hot. We just want it very, very warm. So just stare at it for a minute, and then dump it into the bowl and start to stir with your spatula. And what's going to happen is the heat from those nuts is going to re-liquefy that coconut oil, and you're going to be back to that super glossy, awesome-looking chocolate ganache type mixture. But as we learned a few minutes ago, if we just let this sit, it's going to tighten up again. So before it does, we want to pour this into our mold. And I like to use these silicone ice cube trays. These are the perfect size and super easy to work with. And of course, if you don't have silicone molds or trays, simply pour it in a plastic lined pan like regular fudge, chill it and cut it. It'll totally work. And here you see me giving it a quick spritz with the nonstick spray. Don't do this. I did a couple batches and discovered this step is completely useless. In fact, the one you're going to see me unmold was not sprayed. And you'll see how perfectly they came out. But anyway, ignore that last step. We're simply going to take our still molten mixture. We're going to pour it in. We're going to even it out. I want to make sure they're filled way up, so I made sure I had plenty. And if you have too much, like I do here, simply scrape it back into your bowl. And yes, you can remelt that mixture. We'll cover that on the blog also. So we're going to scrape the excess into a bowl. We're going to clean off the top. And of course, I'm putting the excess back in the bowl, not licking it off the spatula. That would be unsanitary. And then once that's cleaned up, we're going to wrap that in plastic, and we're going to pop that in the freezer until it's firm, which happens pretty quick. I mean, like a half hour is all you need. So not only is this Miracle Fudge, it's super fast Miracle Fudge. And of course, you could leave it longer. I left mine for a few hours because I had to run off for my Pilates class. But once I got home, I unwrapped it. What about that missing one? What missing one? And then we're simply going to pop them out of that silicone tray. You can see just how easy that's happening. And that Miracle Fudge is ready to eat. And that, considering the fact that it's completely vegan and only has a couple ingredients, is pretty amazing. All right, the refined coconut oil does not have a coconut flavor. And I think because of the walnuts and drop of vanilla, you really don't taste maple syrup either. It tastes like chocolate fudge, or fairly close. To paraphrase Jamie Foxx, I'm not saying it's fudge. I'm saying it's fudge-ish. But of course, we can't just stand around eating these. We have to package these up as our edible gifts. Oh, we're not cheap. We're creative. So we're going to dust those with a little bit of cocoa. We're going to place those in some appropriately sized jewel box. Maybe put on a bow, maybe put on a ribbon. You decide. You're the Taylor Swift of your edible gift. And then one tip, if you pack them this tightly, make sure you also include some tweezers so people can get them out. Oops. There we go. And at this point, some of you have to be thinking, what's the catch? This seems too perfect. Well, there is one thing. You really should store it and serve it frozen. And if you do, you're going to get a beautiful firm texture. I mean, check out those teeth marks. Teeth marks don't lie. I mean, they will stay solid and they are edible at room temperature, but they're much, much, much better cold. So anyway, that's it. Miracle Fudge, whether you're going to make that for yourself, just because you like delicious and fairly healthy things, or whether you're going to package this up and use it as a holiday gift, I really hope you give this a try. So head over to foodwishes.com for all the ingredient amounts and more info as usual. And as always, enjoy.